What's up, miss? Welcome back to the Literary Experience with Marco DeVille and Ellsworth Sutherland. And today we will be discussing Tijean and His Brothers by Derek Walcott.
To start the summary, there was a mom that had 3 sons. The mom was a widow at this point. They had lived on top of a mountain, which is rumored where the devil used to live. The family was terrified of the devil. To start off, the first son, Grosjean, was the strongest and yet the dumbest. Tijean had his head buried in his books, yet he was useless in simple tasks such as fishing. And Tijean had been looked down by both of the brothers as useless.
So one night, the Balaam had appeared, claiming it had a message for the mother. The mother was very scared because she was a religious one in the family, and she thought God was always by her side since she always prayed to God. So the devil's message was that she must send her eldest son outside, for they must die in that order. The mom was very shocked because she had unconditional love towards her children.
And the deal that was made from the devil was to make the devil feel any emotion in exchange for fulfillment, wealth, and peace. But if the children were unsuccessful, the subject would be eaten and killed. Grosjean was the first to leave as he was the eldest one. The mother had a great connection with Grosjean as he was the eldest one. She had given her advice. Firstly was to praise God as she was very religious, and she let him know that the devil can hide in several features. While he was leaving, he stumbled upon a frog in which this was probably one of the first signs that Grosjean was impatient. He kicked the frog and he said, "Why would God create such a creature?" Later on, he stumbled upon the devil in disguise. First, he was the old man, where they had talked about money and power being the road to success. In which Grosjean didn't have money, but power he had, but he didn't have enough to be successful. Later on, he had met the planter, in which he had lost his temper right there as the planter mistaked his name multiple times.
This is where we see Grosjean's ego come out, because he got angry for the planter saying his name wrong. Who gets angry for if someone says your name wrong?
I mean, only if you have a great ego.
Exactly.
So, after that, he burst out in a fit of rage, and that's where the planter had come out as the devil, and that's where one child was lost.
So the second one on the road was Tijean.
And let me tell you something about Tijean. Tijean and Grosjean, both of them were similar and different. But the difference for them was Tijean was very smart.
Which makes sense because he wanted to be a liar.
But the difference was that when Tijean had encountered the frog had said, "You're about to join your brother." And Tijean said, "I am not Grosjean. I am a next." Which implied that basically he is not Grosjean and he's a lot smarter.
But it also showed that they both had egos. Tijean had his own ego, but it wasn't as bad as Grosjean's one.
And when Tijean had met the planter, they both had a conversation when it came to smarts. And it ended up in an argument where the planter had said a simple goat is a lot smarter than Tijean, which obviously affected his ego a lot.
It offended him because he had an ego and he thought he was the smartest person in the world.
And not only did the planter tell Tijean that, but the planter also said Tijean, descendant of the ape, which definitely did damage Tijean's ego, which caused him to be in a burst of fury, and he had let his own ego get the best of him, which had caused his demise.
So, third on the road, Tijean. The one that they called useless. But at the start of the prologue, it was foreshadowed that he was the one that was going to beat the devil. So his journey starts off by him and his mother. His mother having a very loving moment with him because that was her last son. And if he was to die right there, she wouldn't have any more sons. And it was a very touchy moment for his mother. So he asked his mother to pray for him. It was realized that him and his mother had a religious connection with God because during the journey, we see how Tijean talks about God and how God is with him and those things. So we know Tijean has a connection with God. And it is taught that the connection comes from his mother. So at the start of every journey, we realize that each brother has their encounter with the frog. Grosjean having a violent encounter with the frog, Tijean degrading the frog, but Tijean comes through, and instead of doing any of those things, he takes the advice of the animals, but he calls the frog beautiful in its own way, which is a very nice thing from Tijean. And the first task the old man gives him was to catch and tie up the goat. And without hesitation, the devil didn't even finish his sentence, and Tijean went right to it. So instead of catching and tying up the goat, which he couldn't do. He castrated the goat. And that, in fact, kind of perplexed the devil. The devil was kind of annoyed at first, but he was also like, what the hell just happened? I did not expect that. The second task the devil ordered Tijean was to count each leaf from the cane field before sunrise. But calm Tijean went and rallied up all the workers. And with his mischief, he burnt all the crops that the devil had, and he even burned down his house. And that was the last straw from the devil. When the devil found out, he was absolutely furious. And he basically lost right there because Tijean made him feel emotions.
The anger the devil had seized Tijean, and the Balam had intervened, trying to convince him that Tijean did make the deal because he did feel emotion. With the anger and fear the devil had, he shows the image of the dying mother as Tijean begins to mourn. But as Tijean was mourning, the frog encouraged Tijean to sing, to praise God, as it was mentioned that no matter what, nature is still always singing. And with the singing Tijean had done, the devil began crying, something he had never expected to happen. The devil had given Tijean one wish, which was to give the Balam life, and the Balam became Tijean's brother. And the way he had been the devil was that he kept singing and continuing with life in spite of everything that happened all around. Aspects in which Tijean had which made him different from the brothers and which also made him defeat the devil were that he had perseverance, relentlessness, patience, and the ability to control his emotions despite no matter what obstacle comes towards him. My personal connection with Tijean was that he was relentless. He did not let the obstacles beat him down to the point where he would give up. He was also patient as he let the devil do his tricks that he did to the other brothers, but it did not faze Tijean. He was also sharp and creative as he had many solutions to the problems. And he was also courageous, and he had a lot of bravery into what he did, as to even beat the devil in this problem. And I could definitely relate to that. And what about you, Ellsworth?
My personal connection with Tijean was his faith in God. I really, really respected that because I feel like in some way we're kind of relatable because in the world that I live in, I personally have so much faith in God and I put all my belief and trust in God. So for Tijean to do those things and for me to also do those things, it was very nice to see that we could also relate in those things that even though he might be a fictional character, I feel like him relating to me was very nice in a way.